News is your local election headquarters, and we're just getting results tonight in the runoff election in Mississippi for Democrats who need a candidate for U.S. Senate. State Representative David Beria beat venture capitalist Howard Sherman by about 12,000 votes. Of course, there weren't very many people who took part in the runoff tonight. Now let's talk one-on-one to a guy who knows a thing or two about Mississippi politics, Local 24 News political analyst and commentator Otis Sanford. Otis, you're a Mississippi native. It appears it's going to be Beria up against incumbent Republican Roger Wicker. A long way between now and November, I'll admit, but does Beria have a chance against Wicker?
Well, as we say in Mississippi, where I grew up, Richard, he has two chances, slim and no chance. That's just a fact. Roger Wicker is an entrenched incumbent. Mississippi is one of the reddest of red states. The fact that you only had a small number of Democrats turn out today for the runoff pretty much spells the unlikelihood that Beria will win in November. It's going to be a real uphill climb for him.
Another big story this week I want to ask you about is we learned that Mayor Strickland was spending some $200,000 in overtime for Mayor Strickland's security detail. This kind of story can really hurt a politician. How do you think Strickland has responded so far?
Generally, it does hurt a politician when you're talking about that kind of money for personal security. But I think Mayor Strickland did the smart thing here by coming out and facing this head on and sharing. He actually shared it with Local 24. The text message, the emails, actually it was social media messages and threats that he had received, very profanity-laced death threats. And you couple that with the protest on his front lawn and people peering through his window back in December of 2016, and he made a very compelling case for why he needs 24-hour and round-the-clock security for himself and his family. The fact that it was that much was because there were only 2 officers doing this. If they had more officers on the force who could spread this around, the overtime would be a lot less, and it wouldn't be that much money. But he made a strong case for this.
I also have to ask you about Tennessee Senator Bob Corker, who again today promised to bring up an amendment that would curb the president's authority when it comes to tariffs. He really believes as these tariffs start to sink in next month across the country, he can get more Republicans on board. Do you think he's right about that?
It's going to be very hard for him to get Republicans on board. Most of them who are not leaving Congress are afraid to death of this president. So it's going to be very difficult. But the fact is, Corker has touched on a nerve here because these tariffs hurt Tennessee. And it really puts Marsha Blackburn in a bind because she's going to have to explain this. And she has ducked this throughout this campaign so far. She hasn't said much about it.
All right, we'll stay up to date on all of it, I'm sure. Thank you so much, Otis, for being with us tonight.